Welcome to the latest episode of our Women Crush Wednesday 1Source series. I am Tiffany Presney, founder of 1Source Management Consulting, and we are the home of Peaceful Project Management. Today, I am talking to Dr. Mendelyn Anderson, founder of Mirror Group LLC, an evaluation, learning, and strategy firm that specializes in culturally responsive and racially equitable approaches and methodologies. So I'd like to welcome Mindelyn. Woo!
Thank you so much, Tiffany. I'm so honored to be here. And I'll become founder CEO, right? But it's like, because I had another colleague share just in a moment of frustration that I had. So I know you have questions about like what advice I would give to others, who are looking to start a business is surround yourself with growth mindset people. Surround yourself with people who share the same values as you, and have that personal board of advisors or that mastermind group or that feedback loop, your sister circle, whatever you want to call it. Like, have that, because those are the people who love you and care about you. And that means they can come to you with that warm encouragement, and they can also come to you with that cut. But it's like, look, this is what I see. Mm-hmm. And here's how you may want or need to grow. That is so important just when you're starting your business. But don't fall into any narrative that folks do it alone. No one does it alone. I know there's a solopreneur title. Even the solopreneur does not do it alone. There's a whole group and crew surrounded by those who endure in business. Mm-hmm. And I use that phrase intentionally. Endurance is what really sets apart I have this side hustle. Oh yeah, I'm doing this gig now I'm doing that gig, from I have built a business, and here is what that business has done over time. I'm still super early in it. Mirror Group will be 6 years old this June, so clap it up. Clap it up.
That's not super young.
I knew you were gonna say that.
You're on the earlier side of a decade. That's almost 10 years. We're rounding.
I'll take it. Everybody's like, look, you can't claim that too much longer. But again, when I think about that circle of advisors and folks that are around me, these are folks that have been in business 3 decades, 4 decades. So I say it in that regard, who have told me, quite frankly, I have rebirthed my business 4 times over. Mm-hmm. Every decade, right? Or these different. So I say it early in that sense that we are just establishing, right, a strong foundation for what it means for Mirror Group to really be an autonomous business, meaning that if Mendelyn Anderson's babies say, Mom, we miss you, we're tired of seeing you on that laptop, we need you to come enjoy summer break with us, and we need you to take a real vacation, not, a couple days here, I'm on vacation this week, but we still see you checking those emails. Like, we need you to unplug. That Mirror Group can still run. Mm-hmm. Right. If I take a month off, everybody's going to get paid. There's nothing left that we can't sign that until she gets back, or we don't know how to decide on this until she gets back. That is when I will know that Mirror Group is truly an autonomous business that I'm honored to be a part of. I'm honored to have founded, but it's not reliant on me to run.
Exactly.
That's when I know I'm CEO. I'm just telling you, that's the standard for me.
I was going to say, it warms my little PM heart to hear you put a timeline on a goal like that. To say by, what do you say, July 2024?
June 5th. Look at me.
I love it. Because my next step is, and now we'll break it down by month, and then we'll break it down further by week.
And you already know, that's why I'm calling you after you cut this recording, because I'm like, yes. My month, and we need to break it down.
Right. It's like, we need is a list and schedule.
Yes, for the other parts, right? That all come together.
Definitely. I love that energy, and I love that way of growing the business. I feel like it makes more sense to me than some of the business growth strategies I've seen that are kind of from they feel like a little bit more traditional. Or it's like, we've got these investors or these funders, we've got a whole bunch of money, and then we're going to start working our way to, building something up. And it's like, well, that hasn't been the experience for me or for really any other minority woman business owner that I've ever met. We have all been in some way, shape, form, or fashion bootstrappers,
Yes.
So we got to grow in ways that are sustainable for the now and that make sense for the future for ourselves and for anybody else who is involved in the business. Because, I don't understand how the CEOs kind of come in and say, we just go and walk in one day and cut 25% of the staff. We're going to send y'all all an email or a letter. And it's like, when we add people to our teams, we feel those additions and we recognize that these are people, lives, and bills that got to get paid. So it's like the weight of the addition, I think, hits us a little bit harder. And I think that hopefully it makes us more careful with how that growth happens.
It does. And that's the part where I'm so transparent. I haven't been the best in that in the past. I'm so mindful. I'm trying to make things work and figure it out. And then you combine that with this economic climate that we're in now. And I know people have different outlooks on it. We're in a recession, we're not in a recession. Jobs are here, jobs aren't here, this other thing. But there's so much that's happening with the future of work, what people expect from work, what they're willing to give to work, not willing to give from work, and then just the finances of small business. We don't have economies of scale that larger organizations have. And so one of the things that I wanted to do, I wanted to like create that workspace that I wanted to work at, that I would want my daughters to work at, right? So we offer benefits. And everyone's like, oh, that's super great. Like, yes. And it's a big financial commitment. And I didn't want it to be just any benefit. I want it to be one that folks actually want to participate in. And like, what does that look like? How do we partner in this? And so I don't take it lightly, but we built it up slowly, over time. And then everybody knows once you offer something, nobody wants you to be like, it's not offered anymore, right? To take it away. And so how you maintain that, but I will share exactly what you just said. I didn't understand. It's like people go off on Twitter or whatever. These people are downsized and this doesn't make sense. And these folks. And I was like, oh, but I'm telling you, being in the role now where sometimes I have to do that. I'm not strong in it. I'm hard. I have misstepped in it. People have felt disrespected by it. You don't want that. People have felt surprised by it. You don't want that. And so that's one of those areas, there's this book, this is a CEO only does 3 things. It's Trey Taylor, and it's people, money, culture. Mm-hmm. And really getting you to see how you set the standard for those 3 things in your organization. And so I needed to tighten up on how I was setting our culture. I needed to tighten up on how we're managing our people. I need to tighten up on how we're managing our money. And so a lot of that looks like fully stepping into the reality that where we are right now as an organization, I may not be the best person to do XYZ thing, even if I did it before. Mm-hmm. So like I mentioned to you, the people management, it's not my strongest area. And still, we need that type people management because our whole business is people and relationships. Mm-hmm. And so elevating our manager to director who gets people and gets the organization and can hold it all and does it well and continue to support her leadership and put her into position, that's huge. The same thing with money. You got to have your taxes right and tax accounting, and you need management accounting. Mm-hmm. I hope everybody has a bookkeeper and a good CPA or a tax preparer without a doubt. And also when you want to forecast and understand what trajectory am I on and what's possible and what risks or things that we need to make to move this, that's not the skill set of a bookkeeper. Mm-hmm. Some bookkeepers may be able to share that insight with you, but that's not the skill set of them. Same thing with tax accountants. They know the IRS code changes every year up and down. You need that. They may not have that same skill set to do the forecasting. It's a management accountant who can really look and say, based on where you are right now and the history and the trajectory, here's what I see, and get ahead of that. So that part is really huge around the money. And then the culture, having the infrastructure, the processes, the systems, the things in place that support your culture, not grabbed off the shelf because, oh, that organization did it, we can do it. Like, no. And also not, and this was my learning, like my little girl dream of, oh, we should have this. Like, and if we build it, they will come, right? Like, and if we build it, we can do it. Yes, I still have that creative mindset of like, we will set the conditions and build the reality we want to be in wholehearted. And I'm wise enough now to know I can't do it alone because I don't have all those gifts and talents to do it the way that I vision it. I can vision it so robustly, but I need someone else to ground that thing and execute it. So that's where I'm getting just clear about, like I said, on my road to CEO, like, okay, do we have folks in place to do this? Do we have folks in place to do that? Do we have a nice flow? Do we have those things? I want to make sure all of us that work at Mirror Group are in the best of hands and with the strongest foundation. So that's my focus now. So that's why I back out of client work. I'm not staffing myself on projects as much. I might peep in here or there because I'm still around. It's still my heart, but I need more of that time and space to focus on executive functioning.
Definitely. I mean, we only have, 24 hours in a day?
That's all we have.
You have twins and I have twins, so we're not going to talk about the secret hour extra that twin parents get in a day.
You know it. We don't keep that on the inside.
You get a bonus hour.
Right?
We should use it for sleeping. It never gets used for sleeping.
Right? Yes.
But I love all of that advice. I'm not even going to bother going back into that question about the advice that you would give because I think that that's such good, thorough advice. I'm going to go right to my question 4, topic 4, and especially as a busy mom with the business ownership and all the things that you're trying to do. And I was going to say, how do you find peace while you juggle your business ownership with all of the other roles that you have? Because it's not just motherhood, it's everything else too.
Yeah, I have to be honest with you. This has been a lifelong struggle for me. I go through these cycles of work and overwork and near burnout and work and overwork and near burnout. And the thing that was so humbling was when I realized this is not just something that I struggle with. My mother struggled with it. Her mother struggled with it. And my great grandmother on my maternal side, she passed away when I was a little girl, may have been 6 or 7. And I still remember her. We had a great close relationship, but I didn't have that presence of mind at that time to say, Grandma, do you struggle with, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, and I realized that this is an intergenerational thing of women in my family on my mother's side. You know, my mom, she was the first in her family to go to college and get a college degree. She went on to law school and got a law degree. And she practiced with a firm and then she opened her own law practice. So again, it's funny when I really take the time to pause and reflect on it. I'm like, oh, I'm not the first person in my family to go into business. Other people have done it too. They've created their own thing. Why? Because the current structures and systems weren't quite working. But in the process of doing that, I witnessed my grandmother, you know, have a stroke. Young, 50 something. That's young. And the effects of that and the recovery and then other health conditions. But she also was married, had 4 children, had her business, seamstress business, real estate business. You know, you think about it, it's like we are all trying to survive and thrive. Right. That side of my family, they come from Arkansas, deep South, you know, formerly slave, sharecroppers, working the land, leaving for a better opportunity and coming west to California. That's that trajectory. So it wasn't this, oh, I think I'll start a business, which was my mindset. It was, I got these kids to feed, we got this roof to keep over the head. We all contribute. And still entrepreneurship, business ownership. But I struggle with that. And so I'm also a woman of faith. I'm a Christian. And so one of the things that has really been helping me to find peace, I'm in this group with some women from my church where we're reading the Bible in a year. And I was so proud because I was like, I told my husband, I was like, I'm one day off of being a third of the way into the Bible. I was like, tomorrow I'll be a third in. Like, this is really good, you know, just like excited by it. But I mention that because those of us that are believers in that way really see the Bible as an instruction manual for
Mm-hmm.
life. There are some rules, there are some laws, there are parables, there's proverbs, there's wisdom, there are all kind of things that no, it's not you must do this and then always that, because nothing is always in this world, right? But there is good guidance and understanding. And as I often say, there's nothing new under the sun. So
Mm-hmm.
anything we think we're dealing with anew today, you go read, you be like, dang, back then people were doing that too. Yes. But I share that because recently, and I'm still striving for this piece, but there is scripture that talks about not only the Sabbath, which many people know. It's like, oh, it's supposed to work 6 days, take that day to rest. But if you really read about what the Sabbath is about, it's about taking a break from your ordinary work so you can focus on God and
Mm-hmm.
give him glory for what he provides. Because if we just keep working, 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 we'll believe that we were the ones that created all this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you have to pause, and God still works things out. And he moves things that you thought were blocked or whatever. Then you're like, oh, it's not me. Like, I have to do my part. But how this happens and what comes of it comes from him. Well, the thing that really blessed me is that around the same area of scripture, I call it Old Bible, but Jewish folks call it the Torah, the first 5 books, right? And so in like Numbers, Leviticus, it breaks down the festivals. And I didn't know anything about these festivals. As Christians, we don't celebrate these festivals. Jewish folks do, though. But there are these festivals throughout the year where you take a week here and you're focusing on God. You're thanking him for what he's done in this way. And you take this time here, you're thanking him for what he's done. And I promise you, I was in tears. And I messaged to my group. I said, I've been struggling with this thing for as long as I can remember. And literally by design in the Bible, if I observe these as holidays, as times to break from regular work, I wouldn't keep breaking myself or being on the verge of burnout if
Mm-hmm.
I observe these. And I just said, wow. So that's a bit of my piece. It's just knowing that there's a structure and an order.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when I'm out of order, I'm going to feel it in my body, in my sleep, in my eating, in my temperament, and all the things. And the more that I strive to be in order, it's going to flow, and just trusting and believing that.
So, question: are you guys reading straight through?
You
Are
know
you?
what? We're doing this fun plan, which is called the chronological Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And technically, there is a book, because I was at the Bible Museum this weekend. I was like, oh, I didn't know they printed this as a book, but this is what the plan looks like. Let me see if I can show you. How do I make this bigger? Let me see. It has this look to it. So the
Okay.
physical book as well as the app. And this is in like the Bible app. I don't know what this thing is called. It's like I feel like everybody has this Bible app. It's the Bible app.
The one with the brown, little brown square.
Exactly, the brown square, and it's called the 1 Year Chronological Bible. But what it does, it's a chronological Bible, so you're reading it in the chronological order of history. So
Mm-hmm.
the way that the 66 books are put together, it's not all chronology because you have different writers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so right now, I'm rounding out David's story. David was a mighty man of God. And I encourage everybody, I'm like, read and see what's there, because you hear of David, oh, he slayed Goliath when he was a boy. And like, that was the very beginning of David's life. David lived to be an old man. They think he was about 16 when he did that.
Oh, really?
He was a teenager
I didn't think he
and
was.
he lived to be an old man. But what I love about his story, he's so glorified. He's described as a man after God's own heart, and still he's flawed.
Mm-hmm.
He is flawed. Everybody's heard of David and Bathsheba. He took another man's wife, one of his number one generals, okay? And not only that, she gets pregnant. He tries to cover it up. He sets him up to die, right, in battle. But not only does he set him up to die in battle, he has to conscript one of his guys to set him up. So now you got other people involved in your sin. A child comes from this rape, because that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And this child dies. This child does not make it.
Mm-hmm.
And he has to atone from that sin. But the thing is, like, I call him the granddaddy of expectant prayers. Like this man, once he realizes that he sins, he turns, he mourns, he repents, he seeks God. And that's what they mean that he's a man after God's own heart. It's not perfection. And
Mhm.
nobody got that. But
Mhm.
it's excellence. It's really understanding who you are, whose you are, how you were made to be. And when you stray, coming back to that center. That's what makes him so great. I'm just struck by his story because I'm reading other things. I'm like, I didn't realize he did that too. Look, he stumbled a couple of times. Okay. He
Mhm.
did. And still, he did his part in a larger history. And he
Mhm.
did his part in a larger plan that would extend. It started before he came on the scene,
Mhm.
and it would extend far beyond what he would ever see and experience himself. But if he didn't do his part, it couldn't happen.
Mhm.
He
Mhm.
was father to Solomon, the wisest man, the richest man, right, in the Bible. Flawed and all, that's his seed,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And then his line leads to Christ. So for Christians who believe Christ to be the Messiah, right, that's huge. David not doing what he was supposed to do, we don't get Christ.
Yeah.
I'm just like, whew, at this time. But anyway, I know y'all gonna do your
So,
editing. But
well,
that's
no, actually, I'm thinking of the fact that you are not the first person, and I feel like it is important to recognize faith in general as part of your daily piece, like being able to incorporate your faith, being able to incorporate pieces of your faith, like you said, that actually impacts everyday stuff, like your schedule. To say that, hey, I'm not supposed to be grinding every single day without taking time out to reflect, to be thankful, to, get closer
Mhm.
to God, to faith, to the universe, to whatever it is that, you're doing. I love the fact that
Yeah.
not only is faith a part of your ways of keeping peace, but it's also the lessons learned inside of that faith to say, okay, I might not be perfect at this. However, I know I still have a part to play, so we're going to play it to the best of our ability.
Yeah.
We're not going to crumble because we made a mistake or because we didn't get something quite perfect. I
Yeah.
I like the incorporation of that person.
It's important. And, we have a colleague in common who, Dr. Jerry Lynn Peak. I always have to shout her out. She's my mentor. She was officially my mentor in a fellowship program that I had. And we stay collaborating and in community. And I'll be honest, it's her, it's a supervisor I have, and I had a brief stint doing management consulting, and another business owner who's been in business for 40 years. The three of those women all modeled for me what it meant to be about your business and be a woman of faith. I
Mhm.
did not have personal examples of that um, where I was like, oh, like to see people blend those together.
Mhm.
But those three women, Dr. Jerry Lynn Peak, Dr. Laverne Morrow Carter, and Monique, who was an old manager of mine, those three really showed me it's not, oh, this or that, or let me bring this to work and take this home. But it was part of who they were. It wasn't, oh, I'm doing an extra performance. And it also wasn't, I'm holding back. This is who I am. This is how I engage in work. And that was so powerful for me.
Oh,
Because I was
definitely.
a kid, grew up reading Black Enterprise, like I love that magazine. I know, it seems very odd, but yes, I did
The
spend my time
Tyson's Jet
crying.
and Black Enterprise.
That's the reading material, right? And like
And
having
don't let them have the little magazine rack in the bathroom because they was in the magazine rack in the bathroom.
you already know. You already know.
Proudly displayed.
Yes, I grew up reading that and seeing these different models of business folks, and I appreciated that example as well because these were people I'd never heard of their names. I had never heard of their companies, but they were employing hundreds and thousands of people. They were bringing in whatever revenue and growing, and it left such an impression of like, I can do this. Like nothing against celebrities or other folks whose name we know. I'm like, I'm gonna be able to walk down the street and I have people be like, Oprah, where's my car? But Oprah does provide a lot of jobs for people, right? Like that's a fact. There were all these other folks who were doing the same thing. And I'm sure if I go back and look a little bit deeper, I'll probably see they have a lot of faith, for themselves too. But I think it is important not to have to splinter yourself. You can bring your whole self into
Yeah.
what you do and how you do it.
You bring up an excellent point because actually Dr. Peak will be here with us in another couple months. I think I'm going to be interviewing her next month.
Awesome.
But she's definitely one of those people that I saw in leadership. And I think that it's good to see something that you haven't seen before in a place where you didn't see it before. Because I'm used to seeing women who stick to their guns, like who stick to their insides. But there's usually also a cap. There's a ceiling that says you're not going to move past this thing, professionally, if you want to hang on to who you are on the inside and you want to maintain your standards, especially around how people are treated, how you treat people, like things like your faith, things like that. It can easily limit you. But to see women who said, okay, you can't limit me in my own business. So I'll be over here running my stuff and I'm going to keep these standards in place and I'm going to, and it's not that I'm going to tell you about them every day, but you're going to feel the difference.
Right.
To feel the difference working with me or you or somebody else versus somebody who may have gotten to a wonderful place professionally, but they sacrificed a lot of their own moral center as they get to where it is that they're trying to go. And that's like a big deal to me. And I felt like I was sacrificing a lot of who I was as I moved up the ladder in, the corporate business environment.
Yeah.
So, I feel you on that. And seeing somebody else doing it is super encouraging.
It is. So I appreciate those ladies. I get to count you among those ladies. So I'm excited.
I love it, but I really appreciate you coming and talking with me today and sharing your wisdom and sharing your advice because somebody needs to hear it. And I know whoever needs to hear it is going to.
Yes, and I thank you for dropping those gems. Like I said, I got my notes. Like, okay, Tiffany, I got you. I know my assignments, and so I know how I can check back in with you around those things. So thank you so much for having me.